One tonight to Wildlife Semi-Filtered. I'm your host, Blake Grisham. Um, we're here with Tiffany Lane, and Sophie, and the other officers from the. They can't see you waving, guys. I got the
Oh,
other
dang
screen
it.
on.
I don't know what they can see.
Welcome everyone tonight to Wildlife Semi-Filtered. That was a cold start, so we'll start over again. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. I'm your host, Blake Grisham, with Department of Natural Resources Management. Tonight we have Tiffany Lane, Texas Tech graduate, with us. I'll switch over to the Zoom call now so everyone can see you. Um,
Okay.
so Tiff comes to us from the state of Florida, where she got her undergrad at the University of Florida. When did you get your undergrad? That was a few years ago, right?
2014.
Wow,
So when that degree was stamped.
stamped. So she is a Florida Gator, and you can judge her on that. She actually she came to us via the project where she was a technician on. She took over because my other grad student kind of left, so to speak, and Tiff held it together. Um, at the seams, she was the core, and she took it over. And not only did she take it over, she finished it, and she finished it strong. And then when did you start working for Fish and Wildlife Service? Was it like immediately the year after?
It was pretty quick. The HR process with the federal government is slow as molasses. So it took a little while to get on, but April 16th was my 2 years.
Congratulations. So
Yeah.
your official title is
Wildlife biologist.
wildlife biologist. Now you're with inventory and monitoring. Is that correct?
Correct.
How is
And
that
my
different?
unofficial title is assistant zone biologist.
Okay, so what? Tell us what you do in
So
general.
inventory, do it.
In general,
Yeah.
lots
So
of
the
paperwork.
inventory and monitoring section, kind of the name highlights our objectives. So I work on the Texas coast and I help the national wildlife refuges along the coast prioritize their biological objectives, and I help them with their inventory and monitoring of the biology. And so it's a lot of report writing, unfortunately, and a lot of landscape level projects.
Uh-huh.
So my current research that I work on focuses on coastal elevation dynamics and how that's influencing waterfowl habitat along the coast. And so that's kind of my big rock for research that I do.
Very good. And right now you're with the Leadership Institute with TCTWS, correct?
Yep,
Very good.
working on
And I
that.
assume you have a more formal presentation for us later tonight. But before we move on, if you note, there's a few new faces with us tonight on the officer team. We've officially begun our transition over to the officers for the upcoming year. So we have Sophie and Peyton and Joanna and Justin with us tonight, and Lainey and Brandon could not make it. So welcome you guys. You all look bright and shiny and happy today. How are you guys doing?
Good. It's been a busy day. Lots of finals are starting up.
What is now? One more time, please.
Finals are starting up.
Oh,
So it's
finals,
been
things I'm not giving out. Yeah, because I don't want to
busy.
grade them. Uh,
Congratulations.
is that for everyone? Are you guys taking finals right now? Final projects and things like that?
Yeah, most of my classes have finals, but like two of them decided not to, which was nice.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
that and
mean,
working, so
very nice. Are you like working in wildlife or just working on the farm or the house? Or?
I'm just working on my aunt's ranch right now. She
Oh,
just
very
has me
nice.
like power washing the shop and shredding and stuff. So
Oh, very nice. Are you gonna do that
yep.
all summer?
I hope so. I'd much rather do that than work inside.
Yeah, same here. Peyton and Justin, you guys doing okay?
Yep.
Very good. Very good.
Hello.
Full of words again, I can see. Kevin, they're still a little nervous. So Tiff, we're going to turn the show over to you for a little while.
Yeah.
So if you want to share your screen and start your presentation, I think Tiff is going to tell us about more detail about what we just talked about, and then we're going to play a game of Florida Man. Is that correct?
Yeah, best attempt at Florida Man. So you told me to just have fun. So
Yeah, I do want you to have fun.
this is definitely informal. and just a little bit more fun. And so when I dive into my career and kind of the history with it there, I just wanted to keep it with the history highlights and kind of y'all and your crew are incredibly awesome at I don't know, clipping things together. And so this was my best attempt at creating something on y'all's caliber to kind of highlight my career and stuff. But like we were talking about earlier, most of my time in my career has now been in Texas. And I hate to admit that, but it's had a lot of great opportunities and a lot of growth for me. So that's why Texas is big and highlighted in the center. And half my time so far in Texas has been here on the coast. I'm going to kind of go backwards through my history, I guess. Right where that star is where I'm currently located in the lovely town of Winnie, Texas. But I work up and down the coast on our national wildlife refuges, and I primarily focus on landscape level projects that deal with coastal ecology. I primarily work on elevation studies and how that correlates to waterfowl habitat and making sure that we have a sustainable management and stuff of our habitats to keep them going. But the other half of my time is in Texas, was up in the Panhandle, where I did both my graduate program at Texas Tech, and I also came aboard with the Grisham Lab as a technician, which I came aboard on the current project that I have with waterfowl, which is what I did my graduate degree on. But I also worked on prairie chickens, and there's not much of a highlight there, which I know you're gonna hate me for saying that.
Well, come on, what's up with that?
But I am through and through a wetland ecologist, and working on an upland game bird was not my favorite project, but still a lot of experience there. And before I came to Fish and Wildlife Service, a little detour that I did that I highly recommend for any student that is thinking about a career in the federal government, or just for the experience, I did the Directorate Fellows program with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the DFP for short.
Time out. You have more publications on prairie chickens than you do waterfowl.
Do I? Let me update my resume.
You do, because it looks like Sarah Fritz just joined us on the stream. And didn't you do a publication with her on prairie chickens?
I think my name's in there somewhere. I gotta get with her on that.
How many do you have with waterfowl right now?
Wait, say that again?
How many publications do you have with waterfowl right now?
I don't know. I don't think I have any publications right now. So as far as like published publications, I have some outreach articles and stuff, but
it took me a few minutes for the synapses to fire when I was remembering that. But for everyone listening, Tiff just did meet a milestone in her career, and she submitted her first manuscript draft to me and her other committee members. So
a little slow, but I got
it.
Hey,
it's really hard for MS students to publish, so I'm proud of you. So
yeah, well, thanks.
Go for it again. Sorry, I just needed to call you out. That's all. Sarah just joined us.
You just had to fire back about the prairie chickens.
I did. I'm trying to think of a good comeback. I didn't have any.
They are cute, and I love their little booming and dancing and stuff. I just wish it didn't occur at freaking 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I get it. Trust me, I woke up every year 3 a.m. for 7 years in a row. So.
I will say the highlight about that entire project, as Sam Harriman will agree with me, is the burritos from that little burrito shack that we got every morning.
In Morton?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like a good burrito.
It is. Yeah, and you were talking about your time with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service at the Directorate Fellowship. So
oh, yeah. So before I finished my master's degree, I did a 16-week program with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service called the Directorate Fellows Program. And it's a crash course in essentially a career with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And if you do it well, then it helps give you a golden ticket into the federal government, and it gives you a special hiring merit. And so I just highly encourage folks to get involved with that. But my entire highlight from that trip, and I had to bring this up because you had John Tomachek on here last week, and he highlighted being a cowboy. And the closest thing I've ever felt to being a cowboy was capturing geese. I don't know if any of y'all have participated in a goose capture, but while they're on the wetlands, and I was particularly here, I was out in Klamath Basin National Wildlife Refuge. While they're on these wetlands, they're going through molt, so they can't fly, and they're just congregating in these huge flocks in the middle of the wetlands. And we take the airboats out, and we use the airboats to scare them into a net that we have on land. And so I just ride around in the airboat, wrangling up these geese like I'm a cowboy on a horse and moving cattle, and I just move these geese into the nets for capture, and it's the most fun I've ever had in my entire career.
What's
So
their disposition like when you have them in their hand? Are they wild? Are they angry? Are they?
they're pretty wild. They have that goose attitude.
That's what.
So you definitely have to grab them.
Yeah.
They'll try and get you. So that's definitely the highlight from that program, and like I said, it's what led me to be hired into the current position that I am right now. So I highly recommend it. Feel free to reach out to me if anybody wants any more information on that program. And then before I ended up in Texas in Grisham's lab, I was in South Dakota working on endangered shorebirds on the Missouri River. I was actually working for Virginia Tech at that time. And the highlight is obviously the tiniest, cutest birds known to mankind. And we were just out there every day capturing them with butterfly nets. And so it was really a fantastic job. And it was my first tech job after undergrad, and I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of my career highlights. But like Dr. Grisham said, first and foremost, if my computer will click, I am from Florida. I graduated from the University of Florida, and this is a shout out to my Wildlife Society at University of Florida. We always got made fun of at conclaves and other meetings for the Florida Man headlines and being men. And so we just decided to rock it one year, and we all wore jorts, which is a classic Florida Man style.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is all of us at conclave in 2014 rocking our jorts. And yeah, so that's my Wildlife Society from undergrad, and I love all those people. And then I have my own personal Florida Man headline. It would be, Florida wildlifer uses wooden oar to rescue instructor's fingers from gator's mouth after being the one to cause the gator to flail through the air. And that's a real story from me during one of my undergrad field trips where we were out catching gators. All the necessary permits and stuff, that's the caveat that we always have to add. But that gator that's right there in my hands, I was one of the last people to go out. And so by this time, all the smaller gators kind of had been caught by my other classmates. And when my instructor took me out, he had spotlighted that gator, and he was like, "Oh, I think it's a little too big." And I was like, "No, I got this. Like, put me on that gator, I will catch it." And of course, it was like too big.
Uh-huh.
And so when I tried to pull that thing out of the water and it started splashing around, the gator started flailing through the air, and the instructor tried to help me catch it mid-air. And in that process, his fingers went in the gator's mouth. I felt so bad, and I ended up having to use a wooden oar in the boat and just press it into the gator's mouth and keep rolling it and pressing it in until it got open enough that he could pull his fingers out.
Any long-term damage?
No, it went straight down, thankfully, and we were on it before it could roll or anything, but yeah.
It looks like this guy in the background here is a pretty good size one. On the
One in the
board
back.
here?
Oh, the one on the deck too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Was this just for class, or was this part of a research project?
This was for class.
Okay.
Well, Florida Wildlife Commission. They go out and capture them, but as part of a techniques field trip,
Okay.
we would meet them out there and go learn how to catch gators and how to process them and stuff.
Very
So
good. Did you take
Yeah.
any like tail scoots or anything like that? Cut any scoots out of your?
we didn't cut scoots. We just measured, weighed, and then we did tag. I think we put an actual tag in them.
Okay. Did you pit tag them or anything like that?
I can't quite remember.
Okay.
This is so long ago, like so early in my career, you know.
I'm just glad Conway's not here because he starts talking about his gator project and goes on forever.
Oh,
About
yeah.
that one gator project. He actually has some really cool. Everything I know about gators is from that one project because he talks about it in art techniques classes all the time. So
Yeah.
apparently they're a pretty fun animal to work with to learn how to do things. Did you enjoy that experience?
I enjoyed it a lot. I actually enjoyed it so much I applied to a job with that particular guy. It was like, hey, I'm the one that saved your finger. Don't forget about me. You should hire me.
Did he hire you?
No, he did it, but he didn't hire me. But that's okay. I ended up in South Dakota. I probably would still be in Florida catching gators otherwise.
Where was this conclave at in 2014?
It was in Carolina, Clemson. Is that Clemson?
That's South Carolina, isn't Clemson?
Yeah,
Is in
South
South
Carolina.
Carolina, yes.
And I will highlight that I got first place in orienteering at this conclave.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
When I was at Arkansas State, we hosted it my junior year, and that was a nightmare. That was my first introduction to conclave. And next year we actually had it at University of Florida.
Yeah.
That was Rachel. I'm thinking about the year. I think it's 2005. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was the first time. It was the only time I've been to Gainesville, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
I like Gainesville.
Yeah, the campus is huge and beautiful, and it was well run event, and we had a lot of fun. The Southeastern section of wildlife study does conclave, and it's a pretty big tradition. In the West, it's not nearly as big as it is in the Southeast.
I know.
And
I wish it was.
And part of the reason is that it's always dedicated to be over spring break. And in the Southeast, they're pretty standardized and they coordinate it. And in the West, it's so large, the Western section, the Southwestern subsection, that it's really hard to coordinate all that and get everything together. So they're relatively smaller than the ones in the Southeast. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's something we should get back into. The thing is, I usually capture cranes during spring break, so I can't take the
Right.
there.
I think you could get some participation from Texas, even if you just did a Texas wildlife conclave.
It'd be really fun. We just couldn't do it over spring break. We have to pick a different time to do it.
Yeah.
It gets tough. But I think so. Yeah, Rachel just fact check. It was 2005 when we went to University of Florida. I really liked conclaves. It was just something that our students can do, but it takes time and energy to coordinate all that kind of stuff. So
I loved conclaves.
Oh, we got third place in Quiz Bowl the year I went, and that was during the time when they still allowed PhD students to compete in Quiz Bowl, which was sometimes it was a bloodbath. Our University of New York always had a PhD student on there, and they just destroyed the competition because they'd always put a PhD student on it. I remember that because we got our asses handed to us by them. I think they went on to win, but we got third place. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my god.
It was a lot of fun. So, continue on, Miss.
Oh, so with that, we can transition into my Florida Man game, Wildlife Edition, which I'm super stoked about. And I was giggling trying to make this presentation. I wish I could have dug into some of these stories more, but I just ran out of time. So we're based on
I'm putting the video at the bottom of the screen. I will manipulate the video as we go through so everybody can see your slides. And we can always wildly speculate about, the headlines as we go. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss what could be going through Florida Man's head when these things happen. So, how we're gonna play the game? You're gonna, in your own head, whatever, score stories or headlines on their level of Florida Man-ness. And there is an actual rubric for this. Okay. It's called the Florida method for the Florida Man. F for firearms or other weapons. L for locations. O for objects. R for reasons for arrest. I, injuries. D for drugs and alcohol, and A for animals, which is what I tried to focus on with all of these headlines.
Now, my question to you is the Florida method. Do those things have to be indicated in the title to receive a point? Is that how it
No,
works?
I just put that up there because I thought it was funny. I just want y'all to vote on which one you think is more Florida manish. I don't know.
So are we going to have a competition here to see who's the? Oh, yeah, it says.
Oh, you're about to see on the next slide.
Oh,
But I just have to say that this is an honorable mention that I wanted to put in here. Florida man punted rabid coyote at Kissimmee. Also because it has a picture and video with it. So I just thought it was so great. But I tried for the first part to, there's just so many. So I really had to narrow it down. And I also tried to pair them up so they're a little corresponding. So next slide. This is how we're going to play.
So, Tiff, before we begin, can we, for the uninitiated, can you, aside from the Florida method, what is Florida man?
Oh, for people that are unfamiliar with the headlines
with the
and
concept
stuff.
of Florida man.
So, Florida man just has evolved from the ridiculous headlines that seem to always be produced from my home state.
Mm-hmm.
They continuously seem to be the most ridiculous, outlandish, like things that you couldn't imagine, but they're true headlines coming from true people that truly live in Florida. And so they often evolve firearms, like the things that listed there, firearms, drugs. There's often animals, a lot of exotic animals.
And usually the headline starts with Florida man or Florida woman does something, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's usually, like Florida man does in some ridiculous statement.
Okay.
Of things that are actually happening.
And the whole premise is that it's true, but it's considered from day to day, it's quite ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay. And just for a FYI for our officers and for Tiff, I have moved the video off the screen and it's just the bracket right now. So if you need to pick your nose or anything, now's the time to do it, okay? So they can't see it. And unless Tiff tells me to put the video back on, I'm going to leave it on the PowerPoint screen for right now for everyone.
So can you see people and stuff though?
Yeah, we can see your PowerPoint.
You can see mine.
It looks like somebody's toupee, is that Trump's toupee in the center?
I don't know. I just typed in mullet and like the clip art thing, and that was the most appropriate one.
Okay.
So when I envision a Florida man, I envision a mullet, some very strange thin mustache, cigarette, a wife beater, the jorts.
Well, the second guy here with the bald head and the two earrings. That's what I expect when I see Florida.
Yeah, that's your expectation.
That's my opinion. So we can see this screen and see it quite well, but we just can't see the video of all the officers and Tiff. So if you need me to move it back to us, let me know. But I have it moved off so all of our viewers can see the actual tournament screen here.
Okay. Well, so how this is going to work is I'm going to read 2 Florida headlines at a time. So those first 2 in the upper left-hand corner, I'll read those. And then as a group, everyone gets to vote on 1 or 2, and then that will be the winner for that round. Okay. And we'll work through all of these headlines until we have an ultimate Florida Man Wildlife Edition.
I agree with you. I suspect a retired mascot is Mr. Ray, and he said that he pictures Florida Man looking like Joe Exotic. So.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. My dad has actually met Joe Exotic.
Who has? You have?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's a story.
That is a story that involves a whole other backstory. So Joe Exotic has come to my part of town because my part of town has a lot of carnival and circus folk that live there to trade and sell tigers, I guess. And so he's been around my town a time or 2.
Did you get a photograph with his cubs?
No. There's probably a picture of me with a baby tiger somewhere though. I have like pictures of like baby monkeys and tigers from circus people like all over.
And I suspect most of our viewers don't know that your parents ran a carnival for years and years. They're retired now, right?
No, they're still, well, the carnival's not operating right this second because of COVID, but
Yeah.
no, they're still operating a carnival.
Okay. I was for some reason I thought we had a conversation that they were retiring soon. So my
Yeah, they're
apologies.
supposed to. My mom wishes they were retired, but my dad just loves the carny life so much.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that to everyone is don't try to haggle with Tiffany Lane because you will lose. I lost a many of research dollars trying to haggle with her, and then I learned of her background. And
After I got away with a few things, then you learned about it.
yeah, I was like, how's she so good at haggling? Most MS students are just like, you tell them what to do and they do it. You're like, wow, I want to do
Let
this.
me think about this.
Okay, so the way this is going to work is we're gonna read a headline and then we're going to vote one or two. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so
And
everyone in the chat room can vote one or two, and I'll tally the the totals, and then the officer team, if they want to chime in on the chat too, I'll on Zoom, I'll tally everything, and Tip, I'll keep you in the loop about things.
okay, that sounds good. You'll be the referee. I'll
Okay.
just be the sportscaster.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of make it up too. So
Okay, that's fine.
okay.
That works for me. I just like reading through these headlines. So
Okay.
if y'all have not read through these headlines or ever read a Florida Man headline, I hope after this you do a lot of research because it's pretty entertaining. So up first, I'm keeping it pretty mild, I think. Florida man steals neighbor's peacock, gets chased by angry bird. And then you have that wonderful picture
Is this a
of it actually happening. So that's story number one.
Okay.
Number two is Florida man arrested in local park for practicing karate once. So good.
He looks like he. We're getting a almost unanimous
Whoops.
3 from our.
Uh-oh. Did I mess something up?
Go back to share your screen, please.
Sorry, I'm used to the PowerPoint button, so I pushed escape.
No, it's okay. We're getting 2 almost all the way around.
All right, number 2. I was kind of feeling that, but see, I kept that first one bird themed.
And you know what? I wish you wouldn't have had to put his photo up there before you read the headline, because if I had to visualize what a guy who would practice karate on swans would look like, that's the exact image that pops in my head. Maybe a little bit more methy, but certainly, imagine him in an MMA shirt or a wife beater.
Right.
And his army of kids behind him rooting him on.
Lights off.
So 2 wins that round, hands down.
Okay. I will keep track of that, and then after this I'll move them all at once.
Okay, I'm just gonna write 2 here, and then I'll have them. Round 1 goes to number 2. All right.
All right. Here we go. Next one. Florida man caught. Wait.
Sorry, we had a really good question. Hold on.
I just love the little alligator hand coming out of here.
So one of our viewers wants to know about the previous photo. Do his arms and legs count as weapon per the rubric's grading standard?
I don't know. I can't see it in action, so I just.
I'm gonna argue yes. I think he gets a fairly high ranking for practicing karate on a swan using 4 deadly weapons. So we'll go.
Those are definitely guns, fully loaded, on each side.
Super jacked every day, right? Okay, so let's go back to the gator.
Oh yeah. Okay. Florida man caught trying to smuggle dead alligator in car. And that's actual picture, full alligator hand coming out. Versus.
Is the gator inside the console there?
Yeah.
So it's all up in.
Tried to smuggle it inside the console of their vehicle.
Okay.
That's all I got in a three-line article or whatever. But
Okay, let's go to the
y'all
next
haven't
one.
noticed yet. This is a whole Twitter. So if y'all are on Twitter, you can go to that Twitter handle, and it's all Florida man stories all the time.
Very nice. Okay.
So tonight's not enough for you.
Okay.
Okay. So alligator smuggling versus Florida man arrested for driving stolen vehicle while monkey clings to chest. So both vehicles,
Okay.
both Florida man.
We're gonna give
both
a few seconds for for everyone to chime in. I think the officers, we got 2 votes for number 1 so far. My favorite thing about this bracket is this guy's face.
Florida man, like.
So we're getting, I think we're gonna go with 1 on this one. So
Alright.
this is like 8, 9 seats. So we'll go with number 1 here.
Okay. Alligator.
The alligator.
All right. One of my, are we ready for next round? Because this one's one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, let me click on the chat here. Yeah, we got all 1s. So yeah, let's go on to the next round.
Florida woman cradles baby alligator in maternity photo shoot.
Sorry, I just snorted.
And on Facebook, she even made sure to put that she didn't try to breastfeed the gator in her Facebook caption.
So my question here is the Bud Light and shotgun photoshopped in?
No, that is the real photo shoot that they set up. In her news story, she said that she rolls her eyes at the typical maternity shoot, and so she wanted to do something that was more in line with
Florida-centric.
Yeah, her Florida womanness.
Okay, I admire her dedication to her red
So
DNA.
that's number 1 versus number 2, another relationship one. Florida man proposes to girlfriend, ties ring to alligator. So that tiny little alligator has a ring tied to it.
Okay, that's actually pretty cute.
Isn't it?
I think it's adorable. Yes, because it's like look at it. It's a cute alligator. It's not some kind of monstrosity like you saw in the first one. I'm gonna do a Dr. Grisham veto here and say number 1 has to win this because that's like
okay.
Yeah.
Number 1 has to win that one.
Let me write that down. Just because 2 was adorable and actually well thought out. 1 is just it's
all right.
Yeah.
I kind of had a feeling that one was gonna win. I'm curious to see if that one goes all the way. But
if I were Vegas, I put my money on that one. I like that.
Yeah, we'll see what else we got. All right. This next round's a little more political.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Florida
man apparently painting anti-Hillary messages on Tampa Bay crabs. Just tossing it back in. Could you imagine catching a crab that just has that written on it?
This also screams Louisiana man.
Yeah, that's true. I could see that around here for sure.
And I don't know what to say about this other than this. I mean, it's a really odd way to get your message to your audience.
And for the most part, I feel like your audience is already on your side, but we'll see. Okay, versus Florida man admits killing goat and drinking its blood for pagan sacrifice. Would still like to be senator. Political stance do you want to go with?
I'm going to let the audience really chime in on this. It looks like from our officers team we have 2. This guy here, the future senator, which he could probably still get elected to senator, even though especially in Florida.
He's probably still running. I should probably look it up.
Yeah. One is just absurd. Two, in my opinion, is more Florida man because it's something you could actually say in the state of Florida and get
Mhm.
elect. Is this now? Is this state or federal senator? And
It
Joanna
said
says
gov-
it
I think
right
it said
here.
governor.
He's the governor. Did you say
Is
he's the
that?
governor?
Oh no, it did say senator. Just kidding.
Okay.
Augustus Sol Invictus.
It doesn't say if he's trying out for state or federal senator.
Are you hoping for federal?
I'm thinking federal. If anybody from our audience wants to Google, what's his name? Augustus Sol Invictus.
Augustus Sol.
What year is it? Okay, yeah, I'm guessing it's federal. I think we got a 2 who wins that. So let me put that on there. He won the votes here, so it does scream
He
Florida.
stands a chance. He already has a good following.
How pissed off do you have to be at Hillary Clinton to paint that on the crab? Is my question.
And to turn it back in, not even eat it. Like you're like, I'm gonna put this back in so someone else can eat it.
Right?
Fine.
And I wonder if the Sharpie ruins the taste. I don't know.
Maybe
I know somebody in Florida caught that crab in the fucking store. All right, on to the next round.
This one is cute animals, I think was the theme.
What was it?
Just cute animals.
Okay.
Florida man hides in swamp after high-speed police chase, gets stuck and licked by police dog, which is adorable.
It is.
But that picture is really what sold me on this headline. So that's number 1.
Okay, let's go.
Versus number 2, which I love this slide. Florida man attacked during selfie with squirrel. And this is an honorable mention of my father, who loves to send me selfies with animals because he knows that I love animals. And this is a selfie that my dad sent me.
So this is Tiffany's dad right here. That's amazing. Okay, so Rachel Villani Googled Augustus Sol Invictus, and he's currently awaiting trial. And he's a candidate for U.S. Senate in 2016. So we don't know for DV firearms and stalking his ex-wife. So that makes it more Florida-esque.
That actually makes it way more Florida-esque.
It really does.
I'm glad he won that round. He deserved it. He deserved it.
After that information. And if any of our viewers want to Google and do a follow-up on all these videos or these headlines, I'd be appreciative just to see what happens. This photo sells this guy right here.
I know, right? The pictures really help it out.
So what we have for this round?
Gosh dang it! I did it again. I'm sorry.
What'd you do?
I pushed the escape button because I'm so used to pushing that.
Oh, it's okay. Like I say all the time on our little stream here, this is where the audio and video is subpar and inadequate as well as our
yeah. I'm glad I'm in here early on.
So I'm going to vote for number 2 just because I can't help but think of Dan Green doing his PhD research on squirrels down there.
Yes.
And I just like to envision Dan being attacked by a squirrel running around in the swamp. So my vote's for number 2. But we're getting votes for 2 and 1 because puppy licks. Puppy licks are they're not very Florida-esque. It's adorable. When I think of Florida, I think of someone getting chased into a swamp and getting licked by someone's pet hyena. And to be fair to the squirrel guy, I envision that happening more in the West around national parks and stuff. So
that's true.
So let's see what the votes say here. It looks like it's kind of a mixed bag. We're gonna go with 2 on this one because 2 things. I think that your dad sold that one because he was a Florida man who is not getting attacked by a squirrel. So obviously you can do it correctly.
Yeah, there is a way.
Okay, so we gave bonus points to that one. So squirrel selfie wins that round.
Yeah, I think my dad would have voted for that one. So and he's not on here, so he gets his vote.
Okay.
All right. And then these last two, I think, were just my personal favorites, so I saved them both for the end.
Okay. This first one screams something outlandish. Just by his face.
Florida man threatened to destroy town with army of turtles.
Now,
And
what
that
kind of
picture,
turtles? Did you do any?
I do not know. I did not get the chance to dive into this article like I wanted to.
I wonder if he was high on like PCP and thought it was the Ninja Turtles or something.
That'd be awesome. Or if he was just swinging like two regular turtles around his head, trying to throw them like in Mario Kart, where you throw the turtle shells.
Yeah. Now, alligator snapping turtles, big ones, I would be terrified of.
Those would be scary.
But you know,
I can't imagine that guy getting one of those though.
Hey, in the 1980s classic Ernest Goes to Camp or something like that, they do attack the camp owners with an army of turtles via cannon. They put little parachutes on their back and shoot them out of there. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. You guys are way too young to.
Maybe it was his favorite movie too.
Yeah, but he has this little pet turtle. It's his favorite friend. They put him in cannons. They shoot him out, and they come down and land on the camp counselors and stuff. They take over camp that way.
All right. Well, Turtle Man versus.
Okay.
Fries with that. Florida man accused of tossing gator at drive-through staff, which I must have cut that off. And there's a whole YouTube video that y'all should watch this one, but he just pulls up to a Wendy's and tosses that gator through the Wendy's window, and the people inside Wendy's start freaking out. So.
Hold on. You keep talking, I'm going to do some video in here.
Are you going to try and find it and share it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look it up. It's a pretty good video.
So my question to the audience and to our officer team, what is he high on right now?
Exactly.
Do you remember what the YouTube video was named, Tiff?
No. I think if you just Google that headline, something will come up.
Holy moly, it auto-populates.
Yeah. It is pretty popular for a little while.
Okay.
I wonder if he's still expected to get Wendy's. That's my other question.
It's pretty good marketing for Arby's to put that ad on before this.
Are you going to share it?
That's an alligator inside a Wendy's kitchen. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission accused this guy, 23-year-old Joshua James, of tossing the reptile through the drive-through window at nearly 2 in the morning. Authorities say James admitted to them he picked up the gator on the side of the road and then brought it to Wendy's. He's charged with aggravated assault, theft, and unlawful possession and transportation of an alligator. Bond was set at $3,000. No word on whether anyone inside Wendy's at the time was hurt.
Let's see if this video actually plays. That was an insider dish. So I guess the same thing here.
The video was shot, you know what they say, only in Florida. A fake alligator.
Great, thank you.
Well, it's unclear where this video was shot. You know what they say, only...
All right, that didn't come to fruition, so we'll go back to the count the votes when we're done here.
Okay.
So we have mostly twos here, 2 all the way. Although we do have strong moral support for Army of Turtles, I think a guy who was actually able to wrestle a gator, probably high on something at 2 a.m. and actually get it through the window successfully is Ultimate Florida Man. So we're going to go with 2. Yeah.
You're going with 2.
Yeah, so 2 wins the votes based on what we have from our audience participation and then the officer team.
All right.
So there
here we go.
Okay, so those are all correct so far.
All correct. Mm-hmm. Sweet. I got it down. All right, next round.
Okay.
Just to refresh your memory, we're going with Florida man arrested in local park for practicing karate on swans, which I wish there was a video of that.
So Tiff, as a waterfowl, I got a question for you about waterfowl.
About waterfowl? Okay.
Okay, so you're the waterfowl expert. If you had
No.
to practice karate on one type of waterfowl, what would it be and why?
If I wanted to actually become skilled, it would be swans because they are ruthless and they are big and they're going to come at you. Their aggression is way up there. If I wanted to practice on something and actually win,
Mhm.
it would be a little teal and I'd just punt it.
But they're really fast. Sugar Ray Leonard?
Yeah. But they'd be so small. It'd be so easy to punt.
I'm gonna stop recording so we don't have it on video.
Right.
Okay, so swans it is. Okay, and then what was the next one?
Versus Florida man caught trying to smuggle dead alligator in car with the cute little picture of the hand coming through.
How was he able, or it's a man, how was he able, because women aren't that dumb, to get a gator in the console and still put it back together relatively okay and drive it?
I think it was in pieces.
Huh.
I read this one barely, but I think he had I don't know. It was dead for
Okay.
sure. I think it was gonna.
Okay.
So.
And is this a round of 3 or just those?
We're just doing those. We're gonna do those 2, and then
Okay.
the bottom 2 will be against each other, and then the top 2.
Okay.
So 1 and 2.
I'm gonna go with swans.
Swans.
I mean,
It's gonna be a hard one to beat.
it's a contender. It's up there in the top 3 for sure for me.
Yeah.
So we have votes for both right now. We have Karate Swans and Peyton's a solid 2. Good Karate Man. We have 1. I'm gonna give everyone about 10.
I mean, gators are very Florida. That's a Florida highlight. So I can see why people are leaning towards the gator.
It's right now. It's 1 vote ahead for number 1. I'm gonna give everyone about 10 more seconds to chime in before we go on. Well, I think what sells it for me on this one right here is just this guy. This guy practices karate on swans. And my question
I also just want to see what he looks like when I put him in this middle box with that mullet on.
You're just excited to see what he looks like.
Part of me just wants him to win for that point, but we'll see.
All right, it looks like the votes are in. Karate Swan is the winner.
Karate Swan. All right. So the next round, we're going to go back over here to our fearless leader, who's going to win the next election.
Okay.
Florida man admits killing goat and drinking its blood for pagan sacrifice.
Okay,
Would still like to be senator.
Okay.
Tim versus squirrel. Florida man attacked during a selfie with squirrel.
I got a question for you, Tiff. What about Florida maternity woman?
She's going to be against drive-through man on the bottom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we have sacrificing goats for Senate seat versus selfie with a squirrel.
And getting attacked.
So we have 3 votes for 1 and 2 votes for 2 right now. Oh, no, 4 votes for 1. All right. Augustus Invictus wins this week.
Man, if he goes all the way, we should let him know that he really stands a chance.
He's kind of an underdog in this.
All right. The last 2, which is going to fill this bottom spot here, is woman cradles baby alligator in maternity photo shoot. God, that's just so good. She even has the muck boots on.
So, Tiff, I really don't want to say this, but I got to since it's semi-filtered. Look at this woman in the face. Doesn't she look like Alex a little bit in the face?
Oh my gosh. Like Alex.
Alex
Got everything else out.
I know. She's going to murder me. Alex is not doing the grad students, but all right, I'm dead. I am totally doomed.
You are.
I'm going to get a text from her tomorrow.
I just grabbed that shotgun right there. I'm just kidding. Okay. So maternity photo shoot versus fries with that. Man tossing the gator to the drive-through.
So it looks like our officer team is going with maternity shoot, and we have a couple of votes for tossing a gator through the drive-through window. The man chucked a gator. You're not wrong. I don't know who Theology 21 is, but they're bringing up some really good points here. I mean, what kind of precision does it take to get a gator through one of those drive-through windows? It's what's cracking me up on this.
Right? And was that his intention, or did he really just go for a Frosty and fries and like totally went on this whole other adventure from this need?
What I said in the quick video of that wasn't really that good. Was that he picked it up on the side of the road before he went. So was it a premeditated gator toss? Was like, I'm gonna get a burger and throw this gator at some unsuspecting poor person working the Wendy's night shift? Man,
I did watch the video, and at one point that employee that was in the thing like climbs up on the counter and is like freaking out on top of the counter. So
my favorite in this whole thing is the gator maternity shoot because it just screams redneck. But redneck is not the same thing as Florida because Florida is kind of separated from the South.
You know, if a woman takes home this whole competition that's called Florida Man, I will be so happy. So I ain't even gonna complain.
I gotta agree with Dick Theology here. They're talking about Florida. Gator chucking and precision gator chucking is kind of Florida because he is. Look at this guy. Look at those pupils and those eyes. He is just lit up on something really.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks. Let me count the votes. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. I honestly think we have a tie right here.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not even lying. I think we do have a tie with maternity and gator chucking. All right. I don't know what to do about this.
I don't know either. It's so difficult. I didn't prepare for this.
I didn't either.
Should call Alex right now. She'll be the tiebreaker.
God, no, she'll stab me. She's violent. Okay, let me go back and count the votes one more time. We have drive-by gatoring. 1, 2, 3. And let me look up here in the chat. We have. It looks like it's 3-3. This is a Gatorade. Can you hear me, Tim?
Oh, say that one more time. Gatorade?
Yeah, look, you can't see it, but Justin in the chat it says it was a Gatorade.
Gatorade. That's awesome.
Gator. Right. So I think the audience has a pretty good point here. If you're thinking about swans and blood drinking pagan versus the bottom two, those two don't really stand any chance against the bottom two. And I think we have a consensus that Gator Man down here outdoes the pagan goats. So I'm going to move Gator Man up into the finals bracket with Invictus there. And then we can decide. I want everyone to vote again between Florida Maternity versus Swan Kicker and see where we're at.
Okay. I see what you're saying. If there's going to be these three, we're going to be the final ones.
Those are the three finals right there. Okay. Those are amazing, by the way.
So is that what we're voting on?
Yeah, let's have those three as our finalists. So we have
for number one, Florida man arrested in local park for practicing karate on swans.
This is a very Florida thing to do.
Does he have like swan poop on the top of his head?
It looks like it is. It looks like, is this herpes? It's very Florida.
It looks like the swan got him a few times. I'm not gonna lie.
And yeah, look at the bruises on his face. There's
Damn.
a huge backstory here. That's I need
You're
to
gonna have
know
to look
more.
more into it. I need to know more about this man.
Did he shave his eyebrows? Or are they just not there?
His hair overall looks very patchy, so he might have a condition.
It does. Okay, so let's move on to our to
Okay. Versus our lovely maternity couple.
It looks so happy though.
If that dude was wearing jorts and Crocs or something, this one would really do it for me. But he looks so nerdy, average Joe, IT geek. Doesn't scream Florida.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It looks like he just got home from his accounting job and just
Yeah.
practiced his speed walking. You know, he's a kind of leisure wear.
She screams Florida though.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, her family tree don't fork at all. She's a Florida native, so to speak, and she looked like she just, got an average Joe. But it's the Bud Light and shotgun. He's not even holding the shotgun.
He's holding the baby bottle. He's doing the most responsible thing in that entire picture.
Right?
From his responsible job to being the responsible one and feeding the baby.
Theology 21 has a good point again. It says they are brother and sister.
Damn it, at least be cousins.
Oh, I mean, it's Florida. I mean, at least they're cousins. At the very minimum, if not brother and sister. But he does. He looks so average. He looks like he has a 401k and he pays his taxes.
I wish I knew what his shirt said. Does it say baby daddy or something like that?
I don't know. That would be even better if it was super trashy, but I can't tell at all what it is.
I'm actually just now realizing she's actually pregnant and not just fat. That's probably mean. Okay, next one.
Moving on.
Okay. Ooh. And then finally, my personal favorite, fries with that.
Okay.
Man accused of tossing gator at drive-through. I think it was at drive-through staff.
So my question to the audience: this blurry image here, is that the gator being tossed through the drive-through window?
I think it is. I think that's it in like a C shape coming from the
You had to ball it up and toss it in. So, Tiff, if you had to throw a gator through a Wendy's drive-through, would you throw it tail first, teeth first, or in a parabola?
teeth first, definitely. I'd throw it like a football. I'd have my hands right behind those back front feet, and I would throw it like a football.
And for our viewers and for you, how big do you think that little gator is down there? It's like 3 or 4 feet, maybe.
I think it'd probably be like 3 foot, maybe.
That's a pretty good size.
I think
gator.
it looks bigger in that bottom picture than it is.
Man.
Yeah. If I was outside, I would hold the gator by the tail and kind of do a around the head lasso sort of throw.
Like
but
a weapon? Like get some momentum?
Yeah. But that is a very narrow target. So
true story, when I was doing my MS at LSU, I was working in the Atchafalaya Basin at Sherburne Wildlife Management Area and in the Atchafalaya Basin National Wildlife Refuge. It was all combined and state and federal work together. And it was a very large management area that on both sides had the huge levee system. So now you Texans don't know this thing about water, but it floods. So they have levee control systems, and the Atchafalaya Basin is the largest contiguous hardwood forest in the United States. And to the north is the Morganza Spillway, and south you get into the more traditional type of swamps that you see in Louisiana films and stuff. But there were gators everywhere on my study area. And what we would do, this is before we had digital trail cams. So we were trying to capture turkeys. So what we do is we put sand out and then a line of corn behind the sand. So when the turkeys came up, they'd leave their footprints. And you would know that they were there. And then you just clean the sand off and then go to the next one. So you check those twice a day. You check it about 11 in the morning and then again right before dark, right when the birds went to roost. And the study area was so large that Hooch and I would divide it into two. I would take the 4-wheeler and I would do the north end drive down, and then Hooch would take the truck, the Ford F-250, to the very bottom part of the study area and check all those bait sites. So all in all, we had like maybe 60 bait sites set up that we would check twice a day when we're not actually trying to capture birds. Well, it's actually easier to get around in the truck because I was going through some fairly sketchy areas on my four-wheeler. So Hooch would always finish before I would, and we would meet at the campground area on the west end of the kind of the central part of the refuge, right off the levee. And Hooch would back up the truck to the levee, let the gate down, and then I would come over the levee and I would land my ATV in the bed of the truck. We'd strap it in and go. He always beat me there. He'd have everything set up. Well, one day I got finished checking our bait sites, and I pulled the ATV up in the back of the F-250, shut the tailgate, we wrapped it down, and Hooch. Now, just as a preface for Hooch, Hooch was a big guy. He was about 3 or 4 inches taller than me, but a lot bigger. He easily over 300 pounds. He was a big guy, but he could move. And one day when we were tying down the straps and stuff for the ATV, he was just laughing uncontrollably. I couldn't figure out why. And I said, "Who's why you laughing?" He's like, "Oh, you'll see, no worries." Like, just get in the truck, let's go. We at least got more stuff to do. So we got everything loaded up, strapped down. And so for frame of reference, I'm short. I'm like 5'6", and an F-250 up on the levee is about head high when I open up that door, and I physically have to climb in. So it's a lot taller than me. So when I opened the door, like the seat and the floorboard were close to eye level with me. So Hooch gets in the truck because he's driving and he starts laughing, and I'm just like, I don't know what this son of a bitch is laughing about. And I open up the door, and about that time, a 4-foot gator comes jumping out right in my face.
Oh my God.
He caught a 4-foot gator and put it in the truck. And he was waiting for it to get me the whole time. He plotted this for like 3 weeks.
Oh
But
my
what
gosh.
he did and what he didn't tell me was he duct taped its mouth shut, so it wouldn't actually bite me. And the funnier part of this whole story was I just let it keep going. And I told him, I said, "Hooch, that gator is leaving and its mouth is taped." And he just went after me. I said, "You got to go catch it, or we're gonna get in a lot of trouble." And so I got to watch him gator wrestle for about 20 minutes, chasing that gator. He finally caught it and took the tape off its mouth. But pro tip: gators that are 4 foot can move extremely quickly, and I screamed like a girl. I was just like the top of my lungs.
I can only imagine it being right there at face level with you.
Oh yeah, it just came right in my face. I had no clue what was going on. So I really like this one. I like that because it brings back a lot of good memories from the field of having a gator chucked at me.
I'm glad you associate that with a good memory.
I laughed my ass off. I just remember a gator coming at my face and then laughing about it uncontrollably as I was watching him chase it. So this was like July in South Louisiana. No one was around on this refuge. It was just us at like 7 o'clock at night. It was still like 100 degrees. So it was, this was 2004 and 2006 is when all this went down. So this was well before the invention of iPhones and stuff. So let's get a vote from our audience. So we have maternity shoot, we have swan karate, and then we have gator chucking. And I'm gonna I'd like for our audience and our member team not just to vote, but think about logic behind this. And Rachel says, the more I think about logistics of the gator chucking, I'm changing my vote to this. He wrestled it, chucked it through the window in the dark, and he's been clearly practicing this. So she's switching her vote to gator chucking. Let's see what our officer says. Maternity shoot. I think Peyton has some experience with Florida people. If she can name a town, Okeechobee.
It's a wild place. I highly recommend everyone to go to Florida.
Peyton, have you spent time in Florida? You're from Florida, correct? You're muted.
Yeah, I live there.
What town are you from?
Royal Palm Beach, right next to Okeechobee.
Okay. Have you ever practiced any gator checking?
I can't find the gators. I tried, but I can't find them.
You
Okay.
can't find gators?
No,
Florida?
but I cannot come across one.
Okay. Were you born and raised in Florida, Peyton?
I was born and I spent like a lot of time in Florida.
Okay. So, of our officer team, you're the Florida expert here. So, what's your opinion on this?
Definitely the maternity photo. I know too many people who look like that.
That's every Facebook photo from your high school class, right there, right?
Well, I didn't go to high school in Florida, but I got neighbors who look just like that.
All right. We got.
What do we think they would name their baby? It's gonna be
All right. That's another good vote. What is the baby's name?
yeah. And we were just having this discussion about some of these southern names that are coming out, like McKendry.
Michaela
And-
with all Y's. Ashlyn. You see where the parents in India named their twin babies Lakovid and Larona or something like that?
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous.
In 18 years, if I see that come through Texas Tech as orientation, I'm going to hit their parents. So we have karate, maternity shoot, we have gator chucking. My vote's for gator chucking. I'm going to be biased here because I've experienced gator chucking on a one-on-one basis, and I just got to vote for it. Even though I gotta agree with Peyton. That is every Southern woman I've ever seen on Facebook has some maternity shoot like that that's redneck that they claim to be unique or whatnot. Sophie said she went to high school in Florida, and those three guys named Jax. Are they all aspiring
Many.
MMA artists, fighters?
3 too many guys.
Way too big. All right, I declare gator chucking as the winner because we got some good arguments for that, and I'm going to award maternity shoot as a strong number 2.
Number 2, second
Yeah.
place.
And then Jax the swan kicker is number 3.
Oops. There we go, y'all.
So the winner is anybody, what was his name again? Does anyone remember?
Did it have his name?
I think we did at some point. I just don't know what. So I'm going to put the video back up so everybody can see us. He looks like he was a high school quarterback at some point. That's probably why he was so accurate with the gator.
He's
His
going
name
through
is-
a crisis for not being from being out of high school. Not sure.
He certainly peaked in high school.
Yeah.
He really did. All right, so the winner is James the Gator Chucker. He wins our Florida tournament competition for throwing a gator through a Wendy's drive-thru at 2 a.m. Peyton, do you think this happened in Okeechobee? This screams Panhandle. I don't know.
I think it's I bet it's Tallahassee.
I think
It's right out. He tried to get into college at FSU, but didn't quite make it. So now he just lives up there and parties because he didn't make it into school. But he's still.
This face screams high school parties.
Yes.
And he tells everybody he goes to Florida State.
Yes.
All right, so he's our competition. He's our winner. It's a strong, good competition when you have 3. Jax versus James versus Florida maternity shoot. All right. So to end our podcast stream tonight, does anyone have any relevant biological questions for Tiff about what she does with Fish and Wildlife Service? From our
I am surprised at the lack of pythons or snakes. I expected a lot more cobras, pythons, but I didn't find any of those.
When I think of Florida, though, it's like Orlando North. Everything south is a little bit more civilized, I think.
Yeah.
A smidge. Or a different culture, maybe.
It's the farther south you go in Florida, the more northern you get.
Exactly. I think retirees, snowbirds, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, and this different culture where they don't toss gators at people that drive through.
Right.
So totally different headlines. I'm not saying they're any better or worse, but different ones. Yeah, this screams Tallahassee. So Tiff, you work with Fish and Wildlife Service, and does anyone have any questions for her about what she does with waterfowl or wetland ecology or how she got to that position or anything from our officer team? Nope. Okay. Well, Tiff, thank you very much for chiming in tonight after a 30-hour marathon session with the Leadership Institute. Appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
thanks
the
for
time.
having me. I'm glad we could have some fun after all that leadership training.
It's going to be we appreciate it. And that's a lot of leadership training. Congrats for making it through all that. So next week we have Dr. Tomacek coming back, myself, Dr. Clint Bowl, and then Chris with telemetry systems coming in. We're going to talk about tracking nightmares, stories from the field, and where we have had mishaps going with radio telemetry and things that we have broke or field mishaps. So between Clint, myself, John, and Chris, we have a plethora of field work experience, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that has gone wrong in the field. Tiff, do you have a field horror story for us?
My horror story is the gator getting getting my instructor. That's probably the worst one because so much of it was my fault for not being able to wrangle the gator that I said I could wrangle.
Does anyone else, the undergrads, do you guys have any horror stories yet? No?
Except for George, but that wasn't. That was just me being there.
That's minor stuff. I mean, it's not, suffocating an animal in the wild happens from time to time. So we're going to share. I have a lot of horror stories because I'm relatively clumsy, and Clint has a few. And we're talking about phone with radio telemetry. You guys are fairly spoiled now because you have GPS and PTT technology. We're a satellite and/or storyboard. Back in our day, you had to do everything via very high frequency. Uh, so James is. I'll tell the story about where I almost gave James Ray a heart attack by electrocuting him with a detonator. I've been shot by cattle fences and destroyed ATVs. Actually, I'll tell you the story about how I broke a Forest Service ATV and left it in the field and never told anybody about it. So I think it's still on file as missing at LSU, but there's a long story to that. So we're going to talk about those stories and more next week with us. Tiff, thank you for coming out tonight. Our audience, thank you guys for participating in our Florida men competition. Tiff, Rachel Villani wants to know if you're at Andywack, and yeah, she is. She's at.
Yeah, that's it. I'm out of my office is in the Winnie Depot, and the Texas Chenier Plain complex is all part of the refuges that I work with.
So Rachel works with USGS out of the Baton Rouge office. And she said, I think we might have actually talked before, and she lent you some Christian cryo gear.
Yes, for soil core, nitrogen soil core freezing mechanism.
It's such a small world. It really is. So now you guys know each other more officially now. So Sophie and Peyton and Joanna and Justin, thank you guys for tuning in tonight and lending your expertise about Florida. And for our audience, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next week, you guys have a safe and wonderful weekend. Tiff, thanks for showing in tonight. And you guys,
yeah,
you guys have a good night, okay? Thank you to our audience. We're going to end the stream now.